Robert, what is the story of the garden, the idea? How did you get the idea?
Well, the garden is really inspired by Cancer Research UK's chosen theme, which is enlightenment. So really we were starting with that as a concept and generated various ideas around working with light and shade and colour and texture. So it's really designed as a sort of journey through from the front of the garden, where you enter with this grove of white-stemmed birch trees, so you're sort of enclosed and with sort of dappled shade. You're walking on a dark granite path, quite rough and knobbly. And as you emerge from this glade, the path becomes smoother, it becomes lighter in colour, and you come out through quite colourful planting. The planting, having started in sort of white and green tones, becomes quite vibrant and colourful on this very simple terrace, which has a simple reflecting pool in the middle, giving a very calming atmosphere to the garden. And over the top, this dramatic canopy which just frames the space beneath, with a corresponding circle in the roof, which draws light down into the garden and allows, when you're sitting underneath it, views of the sky and watching the clouds go past. And then right at the back here, the planting sort of merges into this grid of box cubes, which is set in this abstract sort of composition, sort of green geometry, really. Inside this cloister, again, we've controlled the space, bringing the light down. It's quite dark, this dark timber. But at the end, the sun kind of catches this sculpture representing enlightenment, which is very much a focal point as you look at the garden from the outside, from both sides. And again, there's a circular cutout in this cloister at the end, drawing your eye through to a light fixed to the back wall. So it's really trying to play with light and shade and shadow and colour.
There are so many designed elements here, like these benches and the walls. What materials have you used?
The walls are, obviously you've got this ivy panels, and then in between you've got panels of timber, which is a limed ash timber, just set in these sort of abstract relief pattern of blocks of timber, which picks up sort of what's on the ground plane in the garden with the granite. The benches are actually oak, English oak, which are scorched with fire and then rubbed down and oiled, and you get a wonderful sort of grain that comes through as a result, and this fantastic black colour that corresponds to the black colour on the timber of the pergola itself.
What about the planting? What sort of planting is it?
Well, it really represents a sort of stylised woodland grove, if you like. So the plants are all selected for semi-shade. So we've got aquiledias, irises, quite a lot of geranium, euphorbia, things like that would grow in those sort of semi-shade conditions. Starting with white plantings and then moving through into much more colourful palette, with again using similar geraniums and dicentras but coloured forms of them.
And how high maintenance is the garden? If it would be in real life situation.
There's obviously a bit of clipping to do to the box to keep these shapes nice and regular. Otherwise, it's really just mostly herbaceous planting. So, it's a question of deadheading, of cutting back in the winter, keeping things apart, moving, transplanting. So there is a bit of maintenance here to keep it like this. But essentially, it's got quite a wild, informal look to it. So it doesn't have to be kept in a pristine condition. You can let the things that want to grow where they want to grow and see it evolve. But hopefully there isn't one thing here that would completely take over.
And what would be the ideal setting of the garden if it would exist in real life?
We've imagined this in our brief as being a courtyard garden for perhaps an institution or an office building. We've also said that it might be sort of perched up slightly as a sort of roof garden, hence why we've got this structure around the outside to create shelter from the wind and from the street. But equally it could be a residential courtyard. I think it would work just as well.
And you've done many Chelsea gardens. Would you do another one next year?
I keep saying that I'm going to take a year off and it never kind of happens, but it would be quite nice not to do one next year, but we'll have to see. If the offer comes, I find it hard to resist.
Okay.